Hey there, Tim friends, and welcome back to the channel. Today I come bearing a gift. Welcome back to the Thoughtcast, the official, unofficial Tim Thoughts podcast. And today the gift I come bearing is the theme of become what you are. Become what you are. That will be the overarching topic of today's discussion. As per usual, the Thoughtcast is a sort of pseudo podcast. What makes it pseudo? I can't tell you for sure, but it just feels that way. Anyway, the Thoughtcast is a show where we discuss life and philosophy and ideas and sometimes media, whether that's books or movies or shows or everything in between, and just, the ongoing struggle of the artist. You know what I mean? I think you guys know what I mean. I think if you're watching this video, you know what I mean. So there are a few things I wanted to get through today, a few different overarching topics, but as usual, this is all off the cuff. And also, as usual, this is my third time recording, third time's the charm, 3 magic wishes. You guys know, rule of 3, right? I'm pretty sure this is gonna be the one. So, as usual, there's going to be like some timestamps below. If I'm like yapping too much about any one thing or it's boring, you can skip ahead. You won't hurt my feelings. I mean, maybe a little bit, but that just comes with the territory. So, I figured we could just kind of like ease into things by like talking about just like life lately and catching up with the channel and, getting back on the same page, building a rapport again. I know that near the end of last year, things kind of fell off a bit. I had the whole trip to Japan and we were gone and I didn't have any like videos queued up. So, I kind of fell off the algorithm, maybe fell off your feed. That's just how it goes around here. You guys know how it works at this point. Everything that I make, it's like I really, really put my entire being into it. From the silliest little videos to the vlogs to the video essays. It's like every video that I make is like a soul essence transfer onto the editing timeline of DaVinci Resolve. So, unfortunately what that means is like the videos just take time. Like even this video, it's already been over a week since my last video was published, and it just takes time for me to, sort of crystallize my thoughts to, understand what it is I'm trying to say, because I really want to provide quality, connective sorts of content. Content just feels like such like a sterile word, especially in like this modern age. But like, I want to create things, I want to create art. I want to create moving pieces of imagery that can help, connect with all of you out there. That's sort of what the whole philosophy of this channel is about. Even the vlogs, as casual and fun as they are, it's about sharing my experiences with you. Oftentimes we have these amazing, incredible experiences, see and do amazing things that blow my mind. And, I want to share that with all of you, especially those of you who don't have the means or ability to get out there yourself. I feel like that's one of the best things about YouTube, is this ability to connect and share these meaningful experiences and ideas across the magic of the internet, and like with the oncoming or probably already here AI onslaught of, artificiality and fake videos and fake influencers and bots and everybody just selling you things all the time. It's like this feeling of authenticity and, genuineness, I feel like is becoming a rarer and rarer commodity. And in the face of all of that, it's continued to be and always has been my resolve to make things that are honest and genuine. Sure, I'm not always going to say 100% what's on my mind all the time, but what I do say is genuine and it's from the heart. And, it's probably better, I think, that I don't just say whatever comes out of my head, because it's important to me that I convey, the accuracy and authenticity while still retaining, a minimum baseline of like quality. And, I want the things that I say to have some weight to them. So I can't just, I don't want to just willy-nilly say whatever comes out. And then, it sort of cheapens everything else, right? So anyway, that being said, I did have a couple vlogs I posted in the past month or so. The first one was for Florence, Italy. Well, before that, I had the 3 weeks in Japan recap. It's very long, but in case you missed that somehow and you're watching this video and you wanted to catch up on what happened on that trip, go ahead and check it out. That trip was incredible, full of amazing sights and experiences, and that video goes over pretty much all the major highlights. And then I had the Florence, Italy vlog. I talked a lot about it in that one, but Florence has got to be one of the most beautiful cities I've ever visited in my life. It has that very, very like romantic atmosphere, and not even just in the sense of like romance, like relationship wise, but like romance, like artistry wise. It evokes the sort of artistic soul, I think, within you when you go there. Plus it was like, arguably the birthplace of the Italian Renaissance, and amazing, beautiful place. And then the Gaby K vlog, Gaby K Gorge. It's a little redundant because the K means gorge. So Gaby K, it's this natural wonder, this ancient carved gorge in the Japanese countryside. We rode this traditional riverboat, and the boatman sang his traditional song, and wow, unforgettable, once in a lifetime kind of experience. And while of course I would love for you guys to check that out numbers wise, I think those are both some of the top highlights of my travels in my life, and was finally happy to get those things out. And it would be great eventually if they reached more people, but I'm glad to have made them. And lately it's really been a lot about just trying to keep an even keel. Like, of course there are days, there are even past recordings of this video where I sort of, I'm like, and it was like, got kind of depressing. But it's like, I like to try and keep the thoughtcast somewhat at a, what do you say? Like a even baseline, like I try to keep things a little airy around here so that we can so that we can, I don't know, whatever. I don't know why. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I just try to keep things like at an even baseline when it comes to the thoughtcast, because we'll inevitably hit some highs and hit some lows. So we gotta try and keep it as even as we can, in those regular moments. So those were the videos I published lately. Would love if you gave them a look if you haven't yet. And I really think that my editing and my pacing and my storytelling is like leveling up more and more and more. And like even myself, watching some of my older Tim in Japan vlogs and stuff like that, I notice how much I've changed and how much my style has changed and evolved and grown over time. As a side note, I don't know if this is interesting at all, I've kind of thought about doing like a live stream, like a sort of almost perpetual live stream. Well, it's not perpetual in the sense that it keeps going, in real time, but like do a live stream like maybe once a week and kind of like watch back all of my videos. And it's like this huge, gigantic retrospective, starting with the most recent, ending with the first video I ever made. And I can like kind of, it's part like reaction, part like behind the scenes, part like, I don't know, just like insights into what was going on. I don't know. Does that sound interesting? Maybe that's just way too self-involved and like meta in a weird way. I don't know. Let me know if you're interested in that. One of the ideas I had kicking around for a while. So anyway, to sort of relate it back to the theme, all of this stuff is like just like things that have been going on lately, things in my mind I wanted to kind of chat about, because these are all things on the path of, becoming what I am. And, we're going to dive deeper into that later. the next big thing I wanted to talk about was I finally finished Infinite Jest. Look at that book. That's a massive book. It's probably like 2 inches thick. I don't know what that is in centimeters. Metric people would know. But yeah, like I finally finished this book. And like this is a major achievement for me. Not like just because of the size or whatever. Like I'm not going to be bragging about how long a book is. You know me. But the thing is like I honestly have actually been like reading this book on and off for about 2 years now. And that's not because it's like so insanely difficult. It took me 2 years to like get through the text. It's more so because like I would put it down for like months at a time and then come back and pick it up again. Anyway, it's such a good book. It's such a phenomenal book. And you know, I don't know how many of you are familiar with it. I did talk about it in a previous video and I had a quote and everything from it. And I would like to read a quote again, but let me talk about the book a little bit first. Oh, by the way, all these tabs, this is my wife's copy, physical copy. And this was actually her second time reading it. And she annotated the book, did highlights and everything. And all of these tabs are color coded based on what the annotation, you know, thematically represents. It's pretty amazing. She's a serious reader, so, you know, don't mess with her. But now that I've finally finished the book, I would like to just kind of give my thoughts on it because it's honestly become like a really genuine part of like who I am and the way that I think. And it's sort of transformed my perspective and worldview through its depth, through its characters, through its themes and imagery. There's one thing I would like to address first is that there are a lot of criticisms about the book. Namely that it's like overwritten, that it's like pretentious, that like only jerks and douchebags and frat bros like the book or whatever. And maybe they do, you know, whatever, that people like what they like, right? For whatever reason. But like, I'm going to be honest in my assessment of that critique. And I don't think it's warranted. I don't think that's a fair take. I think that if you feel that way about the book, you just need to grapple with it more. It requires a level of effort from the reader, which is why I can't just outright recommend that everybody read the book because it is a complicated book. There's a lot of nuance. There's a lot of, you know, challenging themes, and there's a lot of minutia in the world building. And it's told in a non-chronological order, so it jumps around a lot and it requires you to piece together how it all plays out in your mind. And there's a lot of things that are not explained, are never resolved. So it's that kind of book. Despite how massive it is, there's actually a lot that is not said, somewhat ironically enough. But the thing about it is, if you do sit with it, if you do go through it and you listen to it and you grapple with its discussion and you think about what the characters are going through, have gone through, if you let, you know, all of that run through you, if you let your mind chew on it and sit on it, it rewards you in kind, right? It's not a perfect book by any means. I would not say that every word of every page, every chapter is pure gold. That's not true. I think there are certainly things that have not aged well, but some things have aged incredibly. Like some things, it feels like he was a true seer and he saw what the future had in store. By the way, the book is set sort of like around like the 2009, 2010 year, at least mostly. A lot of it goes back and forth in the past and the future, but that's generally where it's set. And it was written in the mid-90s. David Foster Wallace is the author, DFW for short. I think it's too much to just sit here and like kind of like explain all the exposition of the book. But really, one of the main core themes that the book deals with, I mean, you could argue it is the actual core theme, the thesis of the entire book, is addiction in basically all of its various forms. Obviously drugs and alcohol, but also like mental states and other substances and ways of thinking and ways of interacting with the world, and all the things that sort of come with it, right? Like the depression and anxiety and angst and just the general human condition. It's like, even though like, I do not want to make light of addiction in general. Addiction is a serious disease, right? And it afflicts a lot of people in very, very, serious and dire ways related to various substances. But at the same time, I do think that addiction is something that all of us can relate to in one form or another in varying intensities, which is sort of my philosophy when it comes to all forms of like mental illness or, neurodivergence. It's kind of like, again, I don't mean to make light of any of these things, but I do think that these are sort of essential like keystones of humanity, of the human condition. And I think to a certain degree, all of us experience, varying levels of these things. So, with that being said though, I think the thing that's so valuable about this book is in its exploration of these extremely trying and extremely challenging facets of life as a human being. I think that DFW had this very, very penetrating understanding of the human condition. And he must have grappled with so many problems and difficulties and adversities in his life when it came to addiction and depression and all of that stuff. And, I'm not here to say he's a paragon of, virtue. That's not at all what I'm saying. In fact, I'm sure he had many things wrong with him, and there are a lot of things we could learn not to do if we look at his life as a whole. But the way that he was able to write these characters, especially the many, many different shifting points of view and the experiences that they go through and that are described, can be so harrowing and real and genuine that it feels like, DFW as an author, as a writer, as an artist, he had this way of like reaching into the soul of humanity and like ripping it out and just like splaying it on the page. And that sounds very visceral, because oftentimes in the book it is visceral in that sense. But at the same time, there is this undercurrent, this silver lining, beneath all of it, that, as much as he must have struggled with all of these things, I think a core part of the book is also in the way that he is sort of helping us as other human beings get through it and relate to it and understand the pitfalls that all of these things bring, and sharing with us ways to cope with it all and get through it all. And I know for me, a lot of this was really very helpful in dealing with just like the continuing unfolding of reality that we've experienced in these past few years. I don't think I need to expound too much on that. You guys are alive in the world and you've seen what has happened, the destruction of all these pillars of society and decency that we've come to know. And one of the things that I think that he did really well was he sort of used these like aphorisms, these platitudes based in like AA, like Alcoholics Anonymous, or NA, Narcotics Anonymous. And he brings them down to a real earthly level and makes them accessible to anybody, to everybody who has just gone through it as a human being. And, it's through the lens of like these people who are addicts and who are recovering and trying their best to, do something more with their lives and become a better version of themselves. And so that brings me finally to this quote that I wanted to talk about. And so let me set it up a little bit. So one of the main characters in the book, his name is Gately, and he is a recovering addict. Drugs, alcohol, whatever it was, you name it, he's done it. And he actually, did like hard time for some crimes he committed. But now he's sort of like on the straight and narrow. He is actually working in a halfway house. He's like sort of graduated from residing in it, and he's now working in it. And a new resident who is a newly recovering addict has come to speak with him. I'm avoiding some spoilers, so I'm going to be cutting some things out. But basically, this newer addict, her name is Joelle. And again, without spoiling too much, she has received a disfiguring mark on her face, so she always wears a veil over her head. And that's what you'll hear about that in the text. And so Joelle is just talking to Gately about her recent struggles and how she went on stage at a meeting to talk about her journey. And, she's sort of like confiding in Gately because she sees him as like a role model, mentor type of figure. And so that's sort of the setup for this quote from the book. And it's basically going to be told from Joelle's POV, recounting what happened in this recent meeting. So let's read the quote. Either Joelle had some sort of problem with her thumb, or she just got really interested in watching the thumb flex and twiddle. She was saying, "It's strange, not knowing it's coming, then standing up there to speak. Folks you don't know. Things I don't realize I think till I say them. On the show, I was used to knowing quite well what I thought before I spoke. This isn't like that." She seemed to be addressing herself to the thumb. "I took a page from your manual and shared my complaint about the "but for the grace of God," and you were right, they just laughed. But I hadn't realized till I found myself telling them that I'd stopped seeing the one day at a time and keep it in the day as trite cliches, patronizing. And why Pat in counseling keeps telling me just to build a wall around each individual 24-hour period and not look over or back, and not to count days. Even when you get a chip for 14 days or 30 days, not to add them up. In counseling, I'd just smile and nod, being polite. But standing up there last night, I didn't even share it aloud. But I realized suddenly that this was why I'd never been able to stay off the stuff for more than a couple weeks. I'd always break down, go back, freebase. She looks up at him. I based, you knew that. You see all the intake forms. Gately smiles. She said, "This was why I couldn't get off and stay off. Just as the cliche warns, I literally wasn't keeping it in the day. I was adding the clean days up in my head." She cocked her head at him. "Did you ever hear of this fellow Evel Knievel? This motorcycle jumper? At St. Collie, only the crocodiles had heard of him. My own daddy'd follow him, cut out pictures as a boy." Gately can tell she's smiling under there. "But what I used to do, I'd throw away the pipe and shake my fist at the sky and say, 'As God is my f***ing witness, never again. As of this minute right here, I quit for all time.'" She also has this habit of absently patting the top of her head when she talks, where little barrettes and spongy clamps hold the veil in place. And I'd bunk her up all white-knuckled and stay straight and count the days. I was proud of each day I stayed off. Each day seemed evidence of something, and I counted them. I'd add them up, line them up, end to end, Gately knows very well, but doesn't nod. Lets her do this on just her own steam. She says, and soon it would get improbable. As if each day was a car Knievel had to clear. 1 car, 2 cars. By the time I'd get up to say maybe about 14 cars, it would begin to seem like this staggering number. Jumping over 14 cars. And the rest of the year, looking ahead, hundreds and hundreds of cars. Me in the air trying to clear them. She left her head alone and cocked it. Who could do it? How did I ever think anyone could do it that way? And yet, it wasn't till that poor new pipe fellow from home pointed at me and hauled me up there, and I said it, that I realized I don't have to do it that way. I get to choose how to do it, and they'll help me stick to the choice. I don't think I'd realized before that I could. I can really do this. I can do this for 1 endless day. I can, Dawn. So, Joelle, so to me, this quote is a core essence of this book. Compared to a lot of the characters in the book, Joelle is pretty normal, but she's definitely an addict. I feel like as much as this is about addiction, and especially extremely addictive substances and how harmful and toxic they are and can be and how destructive they are, I think that it's not a stretch to extend this to humans in general. So many of us all the time, at least much of the time, struggle with life in general. Whatever it is, work, school, family, relationships, stress, and then of course the actual addictions, drugs, alcohol, sugar, even whatever, exercise, TV, Netflix, YouTube, anything, really. Anybody can basically be addicted to anything. Of course, different things have varying degrees of intensity and consequences, but addiction is a very human thing, and struggle and depression and this idea that you just get to a point where you can't take it anymore. I think we all know what that's like. We all have felt that before many, many times in our lives. It's like you wake up, you do the thing, you work, you get home, you're tired, you go to sleep, you wake up, you do it all over again, and for what? And you just look and the days span out before you, and you're just like Joelle, you're just Evel Knievel jumping over what feels like an endless stretch of infinite cars. And how could you possibly do that? How could any of us possibly do that? Because you can't. Because the thing is like when that happens, we're living not now. We're living in the future. We're living in the past. We're living in this imagined world where, all of the struggles and strifes and turmoils and adversity of every day stretch out to infinity. But the reality is that all of these things are transient. All that exists, that will ever exist, is right now. And that's exactly what they mean by keep it in the day, one day at a time. As much as these are pithy, trite, almost borderline ridiculous aphorisms, cliches that have been repeated ad nauseum, there's a reason why, these large organizations dedicated to helping people's lives use them as their, God's prayer, so to speak, right? The Lord's Prayer. It's like, these are small little things, these small little reminders that you can do this. You can get through one day. We can all get through one day. You're watching this video right now. How many days have you got through? And you did it how? Just getting through each one at a time. So, when life's beating down on you, when it feels like you cannot possibly stand one more second of this, let alone the rest of your life, you don't have to get through the rest of your life. You just have to get through one more day. Just keep it in the day, one day at a time, right? And this is exactly how we become what we are, right? First step, we got to figure out how to deal with it, right? The deep down that thing, that depression, that anxiety, that distress, that adversity, that thing that keeps you down, the thing that makes you not want to get up, right? How do we deal with that? We deal with it one day at a time. Whatever it is, keep it in the day. Don't climb those walls. Don't look forward. Don't look back. Today is all there is, all there ever will be, right? So I would say that's one of the most important lessons I've learned from this book. In a similar vein, also from this book, is the phrase, "Please, sir, may I have another?" If you've read the book, you know what I mean. But I think you could also still understand, even without the context. But, it's like, they just keep coming, right? And when it keeps coming, you look up and you say, please sir, may I have another? Because they're gonna keep coming whether you like it or not. Might as well learn to like it, right? So in that same vein, there was something that I just wanted to just sort of like briefly talk about. And that's, it's kind of in the same universe, same thought sphere. And that's basically like everything that's just like been happening lately in the world. And like I tried numerous times to like write something or make a video about it, and eventually I did post something in the Discord a little while back. I know like most of you out there aren't on the Discord, but it was difficult to say something without just like feeling so like weirdly self-righteous and hypocritical. But I just feel like it's something I just have to say, and that's like, as crazy and mixed up as this world is and continues to get, whether it's like, the oligarchs stomping down on us, the, corrupt politicians, the state of AI, whether it's like bots manufacturing social media or content, or the destruction of art as we know it through AI generation. As much as like all of this stuff is just like constantly swirling around in the news cycle and social media on like Reddit and Twitter and Instagram and Facebook or whatever, wherever you get your information from, just know that like most people out there are kind and generous and decent people. I know it doesn't always feel that way, especially on the internet. But the thing is like, first of all, so much of that stuff you see on the internet, those are just bots. And I know there are some real people out there for sure that believe in crazy things, but like so much of the internet now is honestly just bots. And they always have an agenda. Bots are paid for and operated by people trying to make money and trying to shift policy. So first of all, you should know that. Take comments and things you read online with a grain of salt. Second of all, think of like the humans in your life, and the humans you know, and the humans you've met, and the people you interact with on a daily basis. Most people are kind and generous and just want to live their lives. And, unfortunately, it's very, very easy, especially, with the lowering levels of education. It's very easy for people to get sucked into misinformation and propaganda and disinformation. And, they don't even realize it. And then they get sucked in so deep before they know it. They're espousing all this like random stuff that doesn't make any sense. And they don't even have the wherewithal to introspect and understand that this stuff doesn't make any sense. And this is, of course, by design. The thing is that all these people who manufacture these opinions and these, moral frameworks and ethical frameworks, the thing is like what they really want is they want to maintain and increase their wealth and power. And the best way to do that is to convince all of us to look at each other and fight each other rather than look up and come for, what's rightfully ours, what we contribute to society that should be helping the average person, right? So, I'm not trying to like give a blanket excuse for people's behavior and what they say and do. Like there are some people who do some really nasty things and have, honestly outdated and incompatible belief systems. But in general, most people are just normal people, and they're kind and they would like to help. It's just that a lot of people get so tainted by this mass disinformation out there. And, what we really need to do is find a common ground between us, all the regular people out there just trying to get by, so that we can work together, and demand from the people stealing from us, the real, 1%, the problem, these oligarchs, these billionaires who are just taking and taking and taking from us, right? I'm not trying to like stand on a soapbox and like a moral high ground or anything. It's just that like, I think we could all just use a reminder sometimes. It's like we get so lost in these culture wars, arguing about honestly inconsequential things when you think about your day-to-day life. And then we forget that like our basic rights and liberties are being totally stripped away in the name of profit and overreach and honestly like dictators and oligarchs. So, just all I'm saying is just like try to keep it in mind, like especially when, you interact with different people, different groups of people, when you go out into your communities, when you're, thinking about the policy of wherever it is that you live. It's tough out there for everyone. And people, learn to cope in different ways. And so many people who we are told should be our enemy are only that way because someone is telling us, right? Your neighbor is just as poor and downtrodden as you are. And I think we would all, benefit from understanding that on a more intuitive level. So yeah, that's like, that was just like what I wanted to say, and as much as it feels like things are burning down and everything's just falling down a giant hole, it's like, please remember, that there are people out there that are just like you. You are not alone, and, people care. There are people out there who care, and there are people out there fighting the good fight. And it's when we give up. It's when we give up and we give in and we stop caring. That's when we really lose, So, just know you're not alone, and we're stronger together, right? Coordinated action, group effort, understanding that, our neighbors are our friends, right? That's just what I wanted to say, because like I know that I struggle a lot when I like read the news and all the crazy stuff happening in this country and other countries, and just like the onslaught of these billionaires and AI companies and blah blah blah. And it's like, we got to remember, humans, right? We're human at the end of the day, and we should strive to fight for other humans, not just the tiny percent fraction of the richest humans. We gotta instead fight for the other 99.9% of us, stronger together. So, the next thing I wanted to talk about was this other book that I read recently. It's called The Alchemist. And it's almost like on the opposite spectrum when it comes to like Infinite Jest. Like I feel like Infinite Jest is a very like deep, introspective, sarcastic, meta commentary about the modern world. Whereas like The Alchemist is sort of like a fable, like almost fairy tale like story of a boy who realizes his potential and sets out on a journey to like find lost treasure. What I would say when it comes to The Alchemist is you just gotta kind of like check your skepticism and pretentiosity at the door, because it does definitely have sort of like a lofty language and writing style, but I think there's a lot of substance there that almost anybody could benefit from. I think kids could read it. It's a pretty easy read, and it's very short. What I will say though, as a preface, is like I myself am not religious whatsoever. I don't follow any kind of dogma, whether Eastern or Western, but maybe a bit spiritual, but not really grounded in any kind of like specific text. I would say probably the closest rooted teachings are like in Zen and Buddhism to my personal philosophy. Anyway, I just wanted to put that out there because this book definitely deals with some like religious allegory and specific religious themes. But when they talk about God, it's like, I feel like you can kind of understand God in the cosmic sense, right? The universe, right? Like there's something about this world that like is beyond just like a basic individual human understanding. And you can call that by any name. And I think, just a common one is God, So anyway, this book, The Alchemist, is like right in line with Become What You Are, because this book is sort of all about this shepherd boy who goes out on a journey to fulfill his personal legend, which is like this dream he had about a treasure near the pyramids of Egypt. And the book starts with him in Spain. And he's a boy in the sense like he's a young man. He's probably in his like late teens or early 20s or something like that. And he begins as a sheep shepherd, but he sets off on this marvelous journey across the sea, through Africa, to get to the pyramids. And basically the whole book is about not only like understanding your journey through your suffering and your struggles and your growth and the adversity you face along the way, but also this sort of like trust and faith in the journey working out and believing in yourself and your understanding of the world around you, and also being in tune with the universe surrounding you. And there is a lot of sort of like Abrahamic imagery, sort of built into the text. But, as someone who's like studied religion but is non-religious, I think it's fine. Like, I don't think it's, I don't see how it could be offensive to people. I could certainly see how some people would like roll their eyes at it. But I think if you can get past that, especially in this like modern society where a lot of us are sort of like post-God, I think if you just kind of like get past that and, you can kind of internally understand it to mean like the universe. I mean, he even uses a lot of different words instead of like God specifically, which I think helps to sort of break down that barrier. So anyway, let me set up this quote I wanted to read for you. This is a much longer quote, but this is like a part of the book that resonated so deeply with me and sort of became the inspiration for the theme of this episode of the Thoughtcast. And I don't know if this is the same with you guys, but I always feel like whenever I'm sort of running up against a wall where I know something big is coming and I know that there's like a major change in my life occurring, it's like I kind of like almost unconsciously start searching for like media to like help me through it. And like at this particular point in my life, this book, Infinite Jest, has been that for me for the past like couple of years. But I almost feel like now that I've finished it, it's almost like I've lost a good friend, but at the same time, it's like when a rocket breaks stage and it's like about to propel into the next one. That's what I feel like. This finishing of Infinite Jest, this reading of The Alchemist, this all just like all the things going on in the world and life, and the next video I'm making, which I'll talk about soon. That's what this is leading into. So anyway, I don't know if you guys do the same thing, but The Alchemist happened to show up at the right time. And I don't know if you guys know about synchronicity and like this idea that, the universe kind of like will help you as long as you let it. And you could see that from different ways, right? Like you could see that in a mystical, spiritual sense, obviously, or you could also see it in a sort of just like rooted in reality, psychological sense, right? Like if you open your mind to the possibility, then you will start bridging connections that will allow you to move forward in a cohesive way, right? So you can see it, in either way. You could see it in a theistic way, an atheistic way, a spiritual way, a realistic way. There's a lot of ways to see it. But in any case, that's what role The Alchemist played for me right now as I move into this new stage as an artist, as a creator, as a creative, etc. And this particular quote I want to read for you guys was sort of the impetus for finally diving in and accepting, where I am now and accepting the road I'm on and the journey ahead. And this is probably the most highlighted part of the book for me. So to set up this quote I'm about to read, let me give you a little bit of context. Definitely minor spoilers. So if you're just like, if you want to go into the book 100% blind, now would be a good time to like skip over this part of the video. But the spoilers are pretty minor. So I think you could definitely hear this quote and still read the book without knowing anything really that happens. But to set it up, basically, this is about like 60 to 70% of the way through the book and, in tandem, the boy's journey. And right now, he has met the alchemist and he's traveling with the alchemist through the desert on his way to the pyramids. And he's sort of having this like crisis of faith, this crisis of consciousness. And he's wondering, if he is on the right path, if he's doing the right thing. And he's trying to like learn how to reconcile that. And so the alchemist tells him to listen to his heart. And what follows is sort of the stage of his journey where he grapples with this inner turmoil. So with that being said, let's listen to the quote. They crossed the desert for another 2 days in silence. The alchemist had become much more cautious because they were approaching the area where the most violent battles were being waged. As they moved along, the boy tried to listen to his heart. It was not easy to do. In earlier times, his heart had always been ready to tell its story, but lately, that wasn't true. There had been times when his heart spent hours telling of its sadness, and at other times it became so emotional over the desert sunrise that the boy had to hide his tears. His heart beat fastest when it spoke to the boy of treasure, and more slowly when the boy stared entranced at the endless horizons of the desert. But his heart was never quiet, even when the boy and the alchemist had fallen into silence. "Why do we have to listen to our hearts?" the boy asked when they had made camp that day. "Because wherever your heart is, that is where you'll find your treasure." "But my heart is agitated," the boy said. "It has its dreams, it gets emotional, and it's become passionate over a woman of the desert. It asks things of me, and it keeps me from sleeping many nights when I'm thinking about her." "Well, that's good. Your heart is alive. Keep listening to what it has to say." During the next 3 days, the two travelers passed by a number of armed tribesmen and saw others on the horizon. The boy's heart began to speak of fear. It told him stories it had heard from the soul of the world, stories of men who sought to find their treasure and never succeeded. Sometimes it frightened the boy with the idea that he might not find his treasure, or that he might die there in the desert. At other times it told the boy that it was satisfied. It had found love and riches. "My heart is a traitor," the boy said to the alchemist when they had paused to rest the horses. "It doesn't want me to go on." "That makes sense," the alchemist answered. "Naturally, it's afraid that, in pursuing your dream, you might lose everything you've won." "Well, then why should I listen to my heart?" "Because you will never again be able to keep it quiet. Even if you pretend not to have heard what it tells you, it will always be there inside you, repeating to you what you're thinking about life and about the world." "You mean I should listen, even if it's treasonous?" "Treason is a blow that comes unexpectedly. If you know your heart well, it will never be able to do that to you, because you'll know its dreams and wishes, and will know how to deal with them. You will never be able to escape from your heart, so it's better to listen to what it has to say. That way, you'll never have to fear an unanticipated blow." The boy continued to listen to his heart as they crossed the desert. He came to understand its dodges and tricks, and to accept it as it was. He lost his fear, and forgot about his need to go back to the oasis, because, one afternoon, his heart told him that it was happy. "Even though I complain sometimes," it said, "it's because I'm the heart of a person, and people's hearts are that way. People are afraid to pursue their most important dreams because they feel that they don't deserve them, or that they'll be unable to achieve them. We, their hearts, become fearful, just thinking of loved ones who go away forever, or of moments that could have been good but weren't, or of treasures that might have been found but were forever hidden in the sands. Because when these things happen, we suffer terribly. My heart is afraid that it will have to suffer," the boy told the alchemist one night as they looked up at the moonless sky. "Tell your heart that the fear of suffering is worse than the suffering itself, and that no heart has ever suffered when it goes in search of its dreams, because every second of the search is a second's encounter with God and with eternity. Every second of the search is an encounter with God," the boy told his heart. "When I have been truly searching for my treasure, every day has been luminous, because I've known that every hour was a part of the dream that I would find it. When I have been truly searching for my treasure, I've discovered things along the way that I never would have seen had I not had the courage to try things that seemed impossible for a shepherd to achieve." So his heart was quiet for an entire afternoon. That night the boy slept deeply, and when he awoke, his heart began to tell him things that came from the soul of the world. It said that all people who are happy have God within them, and that happiness could be found in a grain of sand from the desert, as the alchemist had said, because a grain of sand is a moment of creation, and the universe has taken millions of years to create it. Everyone on earth has a treasure that awaits him, his heart said. We, people's hearts, seldom say much about those treasures because people no longer want to go in search of them. We speak of them only to children. Later, we simply let life proceed in its own direction, toward its own fate. But unfortunately, very few follow the path laid out for them, their path to their personal legends and to happiness. Most people see the world as a threatening place, and because they do, the world turns out indeed to be a threatening place. So we, their hearts, speak more and more softly. We never stop speaking out, but we begin to hope that our words won't be heard. We don't want people to suffer because they don't follow their hearts. Why don't people's hearts tell them to continue to follow their dreams? The boy asked the alchemist. Because that's what makes a heart suffer most, and hearts don't like to suffer. From then on, the boy understood his heart. He asked it, please, never to stop speaking to him. He asked that when he wandered far from his dreams, his heart press him and sound the alarm. The boy swore that every time he heard the alarm, he would heed its message. That night, he told all of this to the alchemist, and the alchemist understood that the boy's heart had returned to the soul of the world. So what should I do now? The boy asked. Continue in the direction of the pyramids, said the alchemist, and continue to pay heed to the omens. Your heart is still capable of showing you where the treasure is. Is that the one thing I still needed to know? No, the alchemist answered. What you still need to know is this. Before a dream is realized, the soul of the world tests everything that was learned along the way. It does this not because it is evil, but so that we can, in addition to realizing our dreams, master the lessons we've learned as we've moved toward that dream. That's the point at which most people give up. It's the point at which, as we say in the language of the desert, one dies of thirst just when the palm trees have appeared on the horizon. Every search begins with beginner's luck, and every search ends with the victors being severely tested. The boy remembered an old proverb from his country. It said that the darkest hour of the night came just before the dawn. So I think, I think hearing that quote, you can probably sort of understand where I'm coming from. But, of course, I'll still explain, the meaning of this to me, right? So probably all of you that are watching this know that I had that video essay on perfect days, and that's like my most viewed video ever. Has brought in probably like more than half of all of my subscribers, and it is sort of a keystone part of my journey as like a YouTuber, as a content creator, as an artist, right? Also, the other thing is that shortly after that video was released, it was like copyright claimed. So the video is still up, but I don't make any money off of it. Made almost no money off of it, despite, however many views, hundreds of thousands of views it has. But I'm not saying that to complain. I'm just leading in. So that's sort of kind of the story of the whole channel thus far. A lot of the OG Tim friends would know, but when this channel first started, it was all video essays. It was only video essays about media, like movies and shows and games and stuff like that. And then I had this idea eventually to start highlighting older, less popular Studio Ghibli films, like Only Yesterday, Pompoko, My Neighbors the Yamadas, Ocean Waves. And I even did a documentary about Hayao Miyazaki and his son Goro Miyazaki, who was like kind of tapped to be his successor, but it didn't really work out. And it was like this whole deep dive. And honestly, like those were some of my favorite projects ever. And I think some of my best writing ever. I was very, very inspired. I continue to be inspired by Studio Ghibli. And I especially loved the idea that I could like highlight these films that not a lot of people have seen, and sort of weave in my personal philosophy, in the mix. But unfortunately, sort of like one by one, they all got not even copyright claimed, but like copyright struck. Like they were hard strikes on the channel, and actually for a while completely put the channel in jeopardy. Like it almost just went kaput, entirely. I don't know. I never agreed about that. Like I always thought that my works were transformative and fair use. But the way that YouTube's system works is that they pretty much always side with the copyright holder. So I didn't really have any say in what happened. I tried to appeal it, but like the copyright holder is the one that accepts or rejects the appeal. So it didn't really, I just have no power. But again, I'm not like saying this to complain. Like all of these things happened and they're a part of the journey, right? Just like the boy and his heart. And, they became, particular pain points because they were these visions and these works, and they were such like an intricate part of my soul. And it's like I said earlier, every video I make is like a soul transfer, an essence transfer onto video. So those were really difficult things to get through. And then like one of my most recent video essays on YouTube Camp was taken down almost immediately, again due to copyright. And it was like sort of a crisis of identity, a crisis of faith in the channel, so to speak, in the universe. It was like, so is that it? Like of course I continued making vlogs and stuff, and that's partly why I've like relied so much on vlogs lately and in the past like couple of years. I mean, I do love making the vlogs, don't get me wrong, but like I got kind of like I guess like gun shy or like afraid of making video essays about media, only for them to be taken down by copyright. Oh yeah, just as an aside, if you want to watch the Forgotten Ghibli stuff, it's on the Patreon, but it's cool. I mean, whatever. So anyway, sort of like late last year, like right before I went on my trip to Japan, I was kind of thinking of different video essays to write, and it sort of all finally coalesced and came together and culminated in this idea for a brand new concept that's like very, very much so based around my own personal life philosophy and the way that I see the world, and ideas and thoughts that I would like to express and share with people out there. And I'm using all like original content, like videos that I myself took, so there's no issues with copyright or anything like that, but very much so in line with all the video essays I've made. It's just that like, it sort of depends solely on me. And then we went on the trip, and it was obviously I can't really work on an essay when I'm like traveling all day. Then we came back from the trip, and it was like the holidays, and I didn't want to like fall off the tracks entirely, and I wanted to like continue with the vlog stuff. But also, honestly, I think a part of me was just, still is scared. Like, I think like making videos about media kind of puts a layer in between me and the audience. Like you guys are on the internet, you guys are on YouTube, you know how it is. Like people get ripped to shreds for giving their take on anything and everything. And I think the idea of making something so vulnerable and so personal, on some level, on multiple levels, was daunting and was frightening. And I think like it was easier for me to sort of like fall back on the things that I was comfortable making. But, I think like at the same time, I was not content with just letting it go, and I'm still not. And like, I had this idea that like I could work on that essay in the background while I worked on the vlogs. And like I kind of did, I would do brainstorming, I would write a little bit, I would edit a little bit, and it would kind of like shift and transform and change forms. But like I've started to understand, finally, after like 5 years in, I'm finally understanding like who I am. as a creative, and I'm starting to understand my own process, and I'm starting to not only understand it, but to work with it, right? To not be so hasty and judgmental about it, which is, I don't know if you guys know or if you've dealt with it, but it's actually an incredibly difficult thing to do, because the way social media works, the way YouTube works, the way like the almighty algorithm works is like you are rewarded for staying on the treadmill, right? You're rewarded for creating a lot of things, and then something eventually, catches on and goes viral or whatever. Of course, there are people who have been successful who would be quick to tell you that no, quality is the most important thing, and you just have to make something good and it'll get really popular. But honestly, I think that's BS. Like, it's true, quality is absolutely important, but you cannot ignore the power of the algorithm and how much it wants you to be on that treadmill and constantly be releasing and producing things. That's why there's a whole industry based around how to make YouTube videos and short form content and TikToks and whatever. Anybody who's in the game knows that it matters, right? And that's this constant struggle, of being a like content creator, for lack of a better word. It's like, especially for someone who cares, right? Who cares deeply about the kinds of things that I make and the kinds of ideas and thoughts that I share and put out there and express to all of you out there in the world, right? And so, it's very easy, and it's a trap I've fallen into so many times, to feel like I'm just failing. I'm just not doing enough. I'm not doing things fast enough. I'm not making things good enough. I'm not like keeping up enough, right? But finally, I'm understanding that like this is the path. This is my path. And this is becoming who I am, right? I it's like something I told my sister-in-law a while ago, but it's like, I told her, you've been building this new version of yourself for so long. You've been working on yourself and building yourself and creating new relationships and connections and ways of interacting with the world. It's time for you to step into that version of yourself, right? And I think like, as much as I was saying that to her and do believe that, I think I on a deep level was trying to say that to myself. And, I'm finally realizing that my journey is my own, and I can only make things in the way that I can make them. And that doesn't make me less deserving or less worth whatever, comes out of it, right? It doesn't mean that I don't deserve to be supported or loved or helped, or, that I'm not worthy of any of the treasures that I may find along the way. If anything, it really means that I should be welcoming and accepting of all of that with open arms. Obviously not in like a conceited, narcissistic, or hedonistic way, but it's like work that you put in, it will eventually be amply rewarded, and you as the seeker should be receptive to the rewards, right? And at the same time, the process, the journey is the journey. The process is the process, the journey is the journey. Accept it for what it is and allow it to unfold in the way that it does, right? On some level, foolish as it can sound, we need to accept that things will work out the way they will, regardless of how much we worry or think or judge or how hard we are on ourselves. And I think that's where I'm finally at in my journey, in this creative journey, as a person, as like an artist, as a creative. I need to step into this new version of myself, and I need to create this thing that feels like a culmination of everything I've worked for so far. And I think we're entering sort of a new chapter in this channel, in this journey. And I don't mean to say like I'm not going to do vlogs anymore, because that's not true. Like, I'm still going to make the same kind of stuff that you've become accustomed to, but at the same time, it's going to be like evolving and changing and growing in new and different ways. And, you know, maybe I'll reach a new audience, maybe I won't. But the important thing is that, you know, I'm reaching for, you know, my personal treasure, you know, my personal legend is being fulfilled. And again, you know, it's not in like a narcissistic way. It's in the way that we all have something innate inside of us, right? It's like, I challenge you to find somebody in this life that you can say is 100% a direct result of everything they're taught, and that only, right? Watching my niece and nephew grow up, watching everybody I know in my life, there are just aspects of your personality, of your drive that are just inbuilt, unique to you. And these things inform who you are, who you become, what you do, and how you live your life, right? And I'm finally getting to a point in my journey that I can accept that wholly within me, who I am, right? I can like release the idea of the ego of who I think I am, and just instead embrace truly who I am here, who the universe is growing through this vessel, right? Does that make sense? I feel like through all my recordings, this is the most sense I've made, even though it's probably the longest one. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. And I don't know, you know, I'll take it as a win. I'll take it as a sign of growth that I was able to get through that without, I don't know, without feeling like I did something wrong. A lot of the time I'll like say something like that in like my older videos, and like I'll feel like it's like, I don't know, it's like not quite there. But this time I felt like I really said what I needed to say. And you know, honestly, it doesn't really matter how it's received, because I said what needed to be said, if that makes sense. So yeah, this year, you know, it's already March, but I don't know, there's something about it. I can feel a change in the wind. I can feel like a momentum building. I can feel the path. I can feel like the way of the world, the soul of the world, you know? Like I'm not quite, you know, like I'm not a master, I'm not an alchemist, but I feel more in tune and I feel more even. And you know, obviously I still have my down days, I still have my up days. I'm not always perfect, not by any stretch of the imagination, but there's something different this time. And I can feel something coming on, and I hopefully you guys can feel that too. You know, if you're watching this right now, you're like a core Tim friend, you're like a core supporter of the channel, and for that I cannot thank you enough. I cannot possibly show my gratitude, because a visual depiction of the gratitude would overflow the screen. You know, I set out on this journey for not much more of a reason other than I just felt like I had to. And it's been so up and down, and so many different things have happened, and I've met the most incredible people, the most genuine, heartwarming, interesting, intellectual, you know, just genuinely wonderful people. And thank you all for, you know, I don't even want to say like being a part of the journey, because it feels like it implies you're not on your own journey. But like, thank you all for allowing me to meet you, to interact with you, to share my thoughts and feelings and deepest regrets and scariest thoughts and biggest hopes and dreams. with all of you. Thank you for allowing me the space. I feel like these days there's little more I can say about the channel other than I just try to be real. In an increasingly artificial world, I just try to be real. And maybe that's a problem in itself. Maybe trying to be real makes it not real. I don't know, but I try to be something that I know is desperately needed out there. And I hope it means something. I guess that's all I can say. It's a strange, crazy, mixed up world out there. But thank you for coming along on this ride. I have a lot of plans, for the future, and I have some different ways, I've thought about like monetizing things and making things. And like I mentioned in the other video, I'm designing and working on t-shirts, merch for the channel. I don't even really want to like make ads for it because I don't really like ads, but hopefully you can think of it not as like I'm just trying to sell you stuff, more so as if you're interested in supporting the channel and would like something physical in return, a reminder of how to live every day, a little, wink wink to other Tim friends out there. That's what you can think of like as this merch. I love this shirt and I think it's so cool. Like it's like amazing to me that I was able to go from like a thought and an idea to a concept to a design to like a physical thing that like I'm actually wearing. And I really like the fit and the way it drapes, and even though it's not like ultra thick, it has a good thickness to it, and the collar feels very high quality, and it's nice and high and sits high and doesn't get stretched out, Mushin, right? Just like the Perfect Days video. This shirt is like a sample, and in case you're not familiar or you don't remember, Mushin is like this Zen philosophy, this idea of, being without thought, without the mind, but in a perfectly Zen sort of way, so that you're not weighed down by the understanding of the world, right? It's about interacting with the present moment in the truest sense of the concept. But if you want to check it out more, you can check out the Perfect Days video. But this t-shirt line is totally inspired by this concept, and I'm doing my best to really pick a high quality, good weight t-shirt with a good streetwear aesthetic fit and really high quality prints that will last. And what's super important is that they're ethically sourced and they like withstand the philosophy driving the channel, right? It's like I need it all to be parallel, in line with each other. And unfortunately what that means is like the shirts can't really be very inexpensive. I want the price tag to feel worth it, and so I'm doing my best to find high quality suppliers and high quality printing that will last and will endure and still uphold and maintain the philosophical values of this channel, of myself. Like this is not, I'm not just like passing the buck off to someone and trying to shovel the cheapest crap at you. I know it's like you could say that you just framing an ad in a different way, and in a way that's true, but that's how I like to think of it. I'm not trying to think of this as like a way to get rich by any means. I mean, if you follow the channel at all, that's nowhere near my priority. But we do need to keep the lights on here, and we do need to find ways to bring some revenue into the channel, because if things continue this way, the channel is just honestly just not going to survive. So that's sort of the impetus behind all of this stuff. Like I want to make merch, I want to make things that people would like to buy to support the channel, but I want you to feel like it's a quality piece that you can feel proud of owning and wearing, and you can like bring a little piece of Tim with you, right? That's the whole idea behind all of this stuff. And let me know if you're interested at all, because even though I do have some samples and stuff like that, to really fully go through with this thing is going to take a large effort and some investment. So it would be nice to know if there are people out there who are interested in buying the shirts and supporting the channel that way. If not, I totally get it. No pressure. I'm not like, you don't have to like buy a shirt to watch a video or something. How ridiculous is that? But yeah, I did want to just throw that out there because it is something I have been working on, and it is something very, very close to my heart. I mean, literally, right? No, but really though, like, that's genuinely my thoughts. I think if anything in this channel, you can count on me being honest with you, and those are my honest thoughts. Even though it's like an ad also. You know, I don't like ads. I've never done a sponsored video. So yeah. Oh, before I go though, I would like to thank all of the supporters, Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee, YouTube thanks. Thank you guys. It really goes a long way in helping keep the lights on. At the end of the day, I am a human being alive in this late stage capitalist world, and gotta eat, right? So, you know, more to come about the shirt stuff in the future. This is more just like a little teaser, and just let me know if you're interested. If you're not interested, that's cool too. I totally get it. No worries. But yeah, again, thank you for giving me this space to talk and share my deepest, innermost thoughts. And oh yeah, going back to the whole video essay thing, the sort of final conclusion to that is that I will be working on that essay after this video, and so that may take me a little while, so there may be a bit of a gap between now and the next video, but I hope that you'll watch it. That's going to be a huge effort, and I'll try my best to make the best possible video that I can, and hopefully it'll give you something to chew on, you know, philosophically speaking. But yeah, thank you. And again, let me know about the t-shirts. If you wanted more information, I can like post something on the Patreon or something like that, but like as a free post, not like as a paid post, so you can like get more information. But again, thank you everybody. Thank you for the space. Thank you for the talk. Thank you for the deep dive into my mind and what I've been, you know, into lately, and how I've been grappling with the world. And I hope that on some level it was helpful or interesting or thought-provoking for you out there, because it's only because of you guys that I can do any of this, so thank you. Yeah, so look forward to the new video coming out, and please do give it a chance if you're at all interested. So yeah, I'll catch you guys later, and thanks. See you in the next one.